Okay, so we have to do completing the square for all the questions here. So let's start from the easier one first. The easier one is the one without number in front of the power 2 term, without number. Okay, so for example, like 16. 16 is the one without number. So that is easier to do. And 13, 14, and 15 I will do later because you can see there are numbers in front, 6, 4, and 10. So which is a little bit more difficult to do. So let's start with 16 first. So 16, we have y squared minus 15y plus 56 equal to 0. So in order to do this, what should we do here is we have to focus on the second term. So the number here is negative 15. Okay, it's negative 15. So you have to do at the side here. At the side here, you take this negative 15 and bring it to the side. And then you divide by 2. Negative 15 divided by 2. And then you square it. Okay, you divide by 2, then you square it. And you see what value you get. So of course, we can just press calculator for this. So you will get 56.25. 56.25. So if you want, you can change it to a fraction. So which is improper fractions, 225 over 4. Okay, 225 over 4. So this is the first thing to do. You take the number, you divide by 2, then you square it, then you get some values, and this value either you put it in decimal or you put it in improper fractions. So now the next step is, okay, I write down, this is the step 1. Okay, step 1. So the step 2 to do this is you have to add these fractions. Okay, which means this one. You have to add these fractions and you have to minus these fractions in our equation here. You have to add and minus. You have to plus 225 over 4 and you have to minus 225 over 4. So you can see something like this. Y squared minus 15y plus 225 over 4 minus 225 over 4 plus 56. So you will realize I put this and this in between. So I put this in between, 225 over 4 and minus 225 over 4. So I put this in between. And of course, the reason that I do so is I want to change. So I want to change the first 3 term to a perfect square. Okay, the first 3 term to a perfect square. So that is the reasons that I do like that. So I want to change it to a perfect square. So what is meant by perfect square is perfect square we can just factorize it, just square root it straight away. So how? It will be like this. The easiest way to do it is, we take y, okay, and then this one, the second term here is you take this, you divide by 2. You take negative 15, you take negative 15 over here, you divide by 2 and put at the back. Okay, so which is negative 15 over 2. Negative 15 over 2. Then you square outside. Okay, so which means 3 of this term, you can change it to y minus 15 over 2 and you square. So of course, if you are wondering, how come this 3 can change to this? Okay, you can do at the side to figure out. So let's say, example, I do at the side just to check. So I have y minus 15 over 2 square. So it is equal to y minus 15 over 2, y minus 15 over 2. Okay, so I times this time this time this, times again and again. So y times y, we get y square. Y times minus 15 over 2, I get minus 15 over 2y. And minus 15 over 2 times y, I get minus 15 over 2y again. And finally, minus 15 over 2y times minus 15 over 2, I get 225 over 4. So if I simplify it, y squared minus 15y plus 225 over 4. So this checking part is the explanation. Is the explanation why 3 of these, where I name it perfect square, at the end it becomes y minus 15 over 2 square. So where, if you see here, if I expand it, I will get back these 3. Okay, now it is the other way around only. The other way around. So where these 3, you change it to a bracket with square. Okay, a bracket with square. So that is where I do it here. This quadratic, I change it to a bracket square. So this is the first part. And the second part here, minus 225 over 4 plus 56, right? So basically, we have to press calculator. Okay, press calculator. So I just do a labeling here. So this part, you have to press calculator. Calculator. So by pressing calculator, let's see, minus 225 over 4 plus 56. So you will get negative 1 over 4. Negative 1 over 4 equal to 0. So that is completing the square. So if our question is just doing completing the square, then it's just like this. So this is the third step. Okay, the third step. The third step is to change it to this particular form and finish. Okay, that is question 16. Again, question 16 is a question without number in front of the power 2 term. So it is easier. Easier. So I show one more example first. Let's say, okay, so I mark down the question that I have done. So I have done number 16 already. Okay, let's see number 18. So again, number 18 is the one with no number in front of the y square. Okay, no number. So the coefficient is 1 in other words. So it will be similar. Let's see. So question 18 first. Y square plus, okay, let's say I just draw a line to separate all this. Okay, so now question 18. Y square plus 2y minus 63 equal to 0. So if you can look at here, right, so we are actually repeating the same steps. So what to do is you take the second term, the power 1 term, you take the coefficient, which is positive 2. So what to do is you have to divide by 2. So it's positive 2, you divide by 2, then you square it. So you will get 1. So if you get 1, that means you have to add 1 and minus 1 in between. Something like here, you plus 1, then you minus 1 in at the third position and the fourth position. So we have to do that here. So y square plus 2y plus 1 minus 1 minus 63 equal to 0. Okay, so you can see I plus 1 and minus 1. So the reason that we do so is, again, because we want to change the first three term to a perfect square. So perfect square is something that you can square root perfectly. Okay? You can square root perfectly. And the way that we do it, let's see just now how we do it. You just change y square to y. Then this one, the coefficient here, the second term, the coefficient of the second term, right, you divide by 2. Divide by 2, then you put a bracket and you square. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you can see here the y square, I change to y, and then the 2 I divide by 2. Like here you see I divide by 2 just now. So now we do the same. We have positive 2, we divide by 2, we get positive 1. Then you square. Okay, and then for the last two term, so what we do is we press calculator. So where minus 1 minus 63 is minus 64. Minus 64, so minus 64 equal to 0. And yeah, settle. So this is perfect. This is completing the square. Completing the square. And okay, now let's take a look on other questions. So I have done 16 and 18. Okay, let's see how we do it for question with a number in front, with 6, let's say. Okay, question 13. Yeah, question 13. There is a slight difference. Okay, so question 13, 6x squared minus 13x plus 6. 6x squared minus 13x plus 6 equal to 0. So if you have a number in front of this, okay, so what to do is you try to get rid of that number. So we don't want to see this number. So since you have equal to 0 here, the most convenient way to be used is divide by 6. Okay, the whole equation divide by 6. Divide by 6. So if you don't have 0 there, then you have to factorize 6. So, but for this case, since you have equal to 0, the easiest way is divide by 6 throughout the equation. So imagine this divide by 6, you get x squared. This divide by 6, you get 13 over 6. This divide by 6, you get 1. And this divide by 6, you get 0. Okay, so we get something like this. So when you do something like that, at the end, the coefficient disappear already. The number disappear. It becomes 1 again. And now you can do like just now. Okay, you can do like just now. So what we do is we focus on this number minus 13 over 6, and we have to divide by 2 and square. Okay, so imagine that we have minus 13 over 6, you divide by 2, then you square. Okay, so when you divide by 2, right, so that means you are going to turn the 2 upside down and it become multiply, then you square. And what to do here is we take the number at the bottom, at the denominator, so we multiply them. The 6 here multiply with the 2 here, so it becomes 12. So we get minus 13 over 12 square. Yeah, then after that, if you press calculator, you get 169 over 144. So the number found here is the number that you need to add. You have to add at the third position, as in the previous one, the third position and the fourth position. So let's do that here. So x squared minus 13 over 6x plus 169 over 144. So we plus. After that, we minus 169 over 144. Then followed by the previous number just now. From the previous equation, we have plus 1. So we have plus 1. We just add two number in between. Plus 1, you write at the back. So we have plus 1 equal to 0. So again, we get a perfect square here. The first three terms are the perfect square here. Okay, so we can change it to a bracket square. So bracket square. And how we do it is, for the first x square, you change it to x. Okay, you change it to x. Huh? And then for the second terms here, the second term is minus 13 over 6. Huh? If you can see the previous working, we just divide by 2 and we put it here. So again, minus 13 over 6, you divide by 2. We have done it here, minus 13 over 6 divided by 2, right? Then it is minus 13 over 12. We have done something like that here. So which means, okay, I put a mark here. This thing you divide by 2, then you will get minus 13 over 12. So you put them in bracket, and now for the last two terms, we press calculator. So we press calculator, minus 169 over 144 plus 1. So you will get minus 25 over 144 equal to 0. So we have done for completing the square. Okay, the question 13. So this question done. Now let's see question 14. Yeah, question 14. They won't ask the same question for so many times. Normally in exam, they will ask one question only. Yeah, one question only. Oh, oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, 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 true. Okay. It can't ask too many because there are other topics to cover up also. So this is the practice question. So that's why you have so many here. So they expect you to keep practice until you are very good at this. Okay. So now let's see 14. 4x squared minus 29x plus 7. 14. 4x squared minus 29x plus 7. 29x plus 7 equal to 0. Okay, so you can just follow question 13. First, divide by a number so that the power 2 coefficients become 1. So for this case, we divide by 4. We divide by 4 so that the x squared term, the 4x squared, become x squared. And the 29 become 29 over 4. The 7 becomes 7 over 4. Okay, so again, we focus on this second number. And we do the same like just now. We divide by 2 and we square it. So minus 29 over 4, you divide by 2. Then you square. So you will get minus 29 over 4 times 1 over 2. Then you square it. Then you will get minus 29 over 8. And you square it. So you will get 841 over 64. Okay, so this is the number that you are going to add. You are going to plus and minus at the third and the fourth position. So you can see again, the first position I write back. The second position I write minus 29 over 4x. The third position is where you have to put this number 841 over 64. So we plus first, 841 over 64. Then we minus 841 over 64 plus 7 over 4 equal to 0. So again, after doing so, the first three terms become a perfect square. Okay, become a perfect square. So a perfect square means you can just factorize it easily in this way. Okay, so for the x squared term, you change it to x, and second term you divide by 2. We have done it just now. This thing you divide by 2, you get minus 29 over 8. So minus 29 over 8. Okay, then you put a square there. And that is how we change it to uh, a bracket with square. So for the last two terms, we press calculator. So minus 841 over 64 plus 7 over 4. So we get minus 729 over 64 equal to 0. Yeah, yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's the reason why I record now, because I want to send it to you so that you can keep listening to it until you are familiar to it. Yeah, yeah, sure. Welcome. Okay, so that is 14. And if you can't remember, you just keep listening to it until the thing stick to your brain, and then at that time you should be able to handle it. Okay, so I've done 14 or so. So you already have 4 example. Now let's see 15. Let's see 15. 15. 10x squared minus x minus 3. 10x squared minus x minus 3. Yeah. 10x squared minus x minus 3 equal to 0. Let's double check first. 10x squared minus x minus 3. Okay, yeah, it's correct. So what we can do here, as you can see in the previous question, we always divide by something to get rid of the first number. So for this case, we divide by 10. We divide by 10. Okay, so we divide by 10. So we get x squared. So this one we divide by 10, we get 1 over 10x. And this one I divide by 10 to get 3 over 10 and equal to 0. Okay, equal to 0. So once you divide by 10, now you can do the same steps like just now. You take the second term's coefficients and you divide by 2. Okay, you can do at the side here. So we divide by 2 and we square it. Minus 1 over 10, you divide by 2, then you square it. So minus 1 over 10 times 1 over 2. So we get minus 1 over 20. You square it, then you get 1 over 400. Okay, 1 over 400. And now you have to add and you have to minus on the third and the fourth position. So what we do now is the first position I write back, second position I write back the same thing. The third position I put what I found just now, the 1 over 400, I put at the third position. So 1 over 400 minus 1 over 400 and then minus 3 over 10 equal to 0. Yeah. So again, the first three terms are the perfect square. So we can just do like this. X minus, okay, what number should you minus and why minus? Because this is negative. If you see this is negative, then here negative also. So now you take this and divide by 2. Take this and divide by 2. We have done it here. This one divide by 2, we will end up with negative 1 over 20. So negative 1 over 20. So the first three terms has been changed to this one. And the last two term, we press calculator. So minus 1 over 400, minus 3 over 10. So we get minus 121 over 400 equal to 0. And done, completing the square. Okay, so I have done 15. Now let's look at 16. 16 we have done. 17. 12y squared minus 16y plus 5. Okay, so to do this question, first we have to get rid of 12 in front. So we divide by 12. So when you divide by 12, 12 over 12, it becomes y squared. And for the second term, we have minus 16 divided by 12. So minus 16 divided by 12, I'm using calculator to check. You get minus 4 over 3. And the third term, 5 divided by 12. Then we get this. And after that, we take the coefficient of the second term. We divide by 2. Okay, so minus 4 over 3 divided by 2. And you square it. So when you divide by 2, you have to times with 1 over 2. For this case, we can simplify it by simplifying the numerator and the denominator. So the 4 become 2 and the 2 become 1. So in that case, we get minus 2 over 3 square, and you square it and you will get 4 over 9. So when you get 4 over 9, so what to do is you write back the first and the second term. The third term you put 4 over 9. The fourth term you put minus 4 over 9. And the fifth term you put 5 over 12 from the previous equation. Okay, so again, the first three term you can factorize it straight away by doing this. Y minus. Okay, so again, here we divide by 2. We take this and divide by 2. We have done it here inside the bracket. We divide by 2 and we get minus 2 over 3. Yeah? So that is what you should put over here. Minus 2 over 3 square. So that is where the first three term has been factorized to this. And now for the last two term, we press calculator. Minus 4 over 9 plus 5 over 12. So we get minus 1 over 36 equal to 0. Yeah, we just leave it like that only. Yeah. This and this we count and we just leave it like this. We can't cancel out anymore. Okay, so this one settled already. Now the next one. Okay, we have done 18. We've done 18. Now let's see 19. 19. Okay, I draw a line. Question 19. X squared plus 2x plus 1 equal to 0. Okay, so this is the question with coefficient 1 in front, so we are not going to divide by anything. We can go straight to the next steps. So the next step is you look at 2 over there. So imagine you take 2, you divide by 2, then you square it, so you get 1. So we have to plus 1, and then you minus 1. And then after that, don't forget about the terms given here. The third term given just now is also plus 1. So it's also plus 1. So if you can see that, right, actually you can just factorize straight away. It's already perfect square. Or else you do like this. And the first three term is where you can factorize to a same factors. So that is going to be x plus, okay, imagine this you divide by 2, you get 1, and then you square. Minus 1 plus 1 end up with nothing, 0. So nothing, then we don't write anything after that. So this is the perfect, the completing the square. So this is question 19. Okay, so we keep it on. The next question, question 20. Question 20, we have x squared minus 6x plus 9 equal to 0. So again, we focus on this one. So as you can see, minus 6 over 2, you divide by, you minus 6 you divide by 2, then you square it. So you get minus 3, then you square, you get 9. Okay, so you're supposed to plus 9 and minus 9. But the thing is, we already have plus 9 there, so it is straight away a perfect square actually. You can do something like here, you plus 9 minus 9, then you plus 9 again, but no point doing so because this is already a perfect square. So I just write down in this way. If you follow the normal way, we're supposed to plus 9 and minus 9, and you plus 9. Okay, so that is same with the previous one. But this point, you can just skip because we already have plus 9. We want plus 9 so that the first three term become a perfect square. But the thing is, we already have plus 9. Okay, we already have plus 9. So we can go straight to this step where we factorize it. So x, then the next one is minus 6 divided by 2, which is minus 3. So this is where we have done question 20. Question 21. Okay. 21 is x squared plus 10x plus 25 equal to 0. Okay, so again we focus on 10. 10 divided by 2, then you square it. So you get 5 square, then you get 25. So we already have 25. So this is already a perfect square. So we can skip these steps in the middle just now. We can go straight to this. Okay, where you can do x plus. Okay, just take the 10 and divide by 2, you get 5. X plus 5 square equal to 0. And we have done for 21. And after that, 22. 22x squared minus 14x plus 49 equal to 0. So again, we take the minus 14. Minus 14 divided by 2, then you square it. So it's minus 7 and square, you get 49. And we already have 49 at the third position. So this is already a perfect square. So we just factorize it straight away. We take minus 14 and divide by 2. So we get minus 7. So we get minus 7. So we just square and done for 22. And after that, 23. Question 23 is 6a squared minus a minus 1 equal to 0. Okay, so if we are going to do completing the square for this, now we have to divide by 6 first. Okay, divide by 6 to get rid of the coefficient. So we have a squared minus 1 over 6a minus 1 over 6 equal to 0. Okay, then we focus on minus 1 over 6. We bring it at the side, we divide by 2. Minus 1 over 6 divided by 2. And you square. So that is equal to multiply of 1 over 2. And then you will get minus 1 over 12. You square it. So you get 1 over 144. Okay, so we have to add 1 over 144 at the third and the fourth position. So now I write back the first one, a square. I write back the second term, minus 1 over 6a. Now I add 1 over 144. Then I minus 1 over 144. Then I minus 1 over 6 equal to 0. And now the first three term is a perfect square now. So we can just factorize it to a. And the next one is you take the minus 1 over 6, you divide by 2. And we have done it inside the bracket. Minus 1 over 6 divided by 2 is equal to minus 1 over 12. So we take minus 1 over 12, then we square. So that is the first three term. The first three term we factorize. And the last two term we press calculator. So you will get minus 25 over 144 equal to 0, and that is the completing the square. So this is question 23. And question 24. Question 24. So we have 4a squared minus 3a minus 10 equal to 0. So we divide by 4. Divide by 4. So we get a squared, 3 over 4a. 10 divided by 4 is minus 5 over 2. Okay, so now what to do next is we take the b. We take the second term's coefficient. Normally we call that b. So we take it, divide by 2, and then we square it. So then we get minus 3 over 4 times 1 over 2. Okay, then we get minus 3 over 8 square. Then we get 9 over 64. Okay, so we add a squared minus 3 over 4a. Then we put 9 over 64 minus 9 over 64 minus 5 over 2. So again, the first three term is the perfect square. So we factorize it. And we take minus 3 over 4 divided by 2. We have done it here inside the bracket, which is minus 3 over 8. Minus 3 over 8. Okay. So for the last two terms, we press calculator. Minus 9 over 64 minus 5 over 2. So we get minus 169 over 64 equal to 0. So we have done completing the square for this question. And let's just move on. 25. Z square minus 8z minus 65 equal to 0. Okay, so z square minus 8z. Okay, so remember the second term is where we have to divide by 2 and square. So minus 8 divided by 2 and you square. That is minus 4 and square, and you get 16. So that's why you have to add 16, then you minus 16. So again, the first three term is where it is a perfect square. So we can factorize it straight away. And it is going to be the minus 8 divided by 2, which is minus 4. So this one is going to be minus 4. And okay, so the last two term we press calculator, we get minus 81. And settle. This is 25. if the question asks you to solve, you have to do something else. So if the question asks you to do completing the square, we just stop like this. So it depends on question. So question 26. 6x squared plus 17x minus 3 equal to 0. So we divide by 6 first. So we get x squared, 17 over 6x. So 3 divided by 6 is 1 over 2. Okay, so after doing so, now we focus on the second coefficient, which is 17 over 6. Okay, so here, 17 over 6 divided by 2 square, it is equal to 17 over 6 times 1 over 2, and you square is equal to 17 over 12 square. Then you press calculator, so you get 289 over 144. So you have to add these 289 over 144 at the third term and the fourth term. So it becomes x squared, 17 over 6x, 289 over 144, minus 289 over 144, minus half, equal to 0. Okay, so the first three term is now a perfect square, so we just factorize it. Like just now, we always take this and divide by 2. So where you can refer here, take this divide by 2 and end up with 17 over 12 as the result. So we have to add 17 over 12 and then we square. And for the last two terms, we just press calculator. So you get minus 5 over 2. Minus 5 over 2. Oh, sorry, I pressed wrong. 2, 8, 9. Okay, so should be minus 361 over 144 equal to 0. Okay, so this is 26. Now let's see 27. 27, they use different alphabet now. So the question is 10k squared plus 19k minus 2 equal to 0. So first of all, we divide by 10. 10 divided by 10 is 1. So we have k squared only. Then 19 over 10. 2 over 10 is 1 over 5. Okay, so we focus on 19 over 10. We take that, divide by 2 and square. 19 over 10 divided by 2 square, which is 19 over 2, 19 over 10 times half square, which is 19 over 20 square, and then 361 over 400. So k squared plus 19 over 10 k. So we have to add 361 over 400. Then we minus 361 over 400 minus 1 over 5 equal to 0. So for the first three term, we factorize it. 19 over. Okay, so remember how we factorize. So we take this coefficient, we divide by 2, we get 19 over 20. I get 19 over 20. So 19 over 20, then we square. Okay, so for the last two terms, we press calculator. Okay, so minus 361 over 400 minus 1 over 5. So we get minus 441 over 400 equal to 0. Okay, so that is perfect, completing the square. Okay, so we still have 3 more questions. 3 more questions. Let's finish it. 28. Yeah. Y squared minus 2y plus 1 equal to 0. Okay, so as you can see the minus 2 here, we divide by 2 and we square. So we get minus 1 square, we get 1. And we already have 1 over here. We already have 1. Okay, we already have 1. So we are not going to plus 1 and minus 1 in between. So we are not going to do that, because if you have 1, that means it is already a perfect square. So these 3 terms are already a perfect square. So we can just factorize it by using the way that we discussed just now, where you take minus 2, you divide by 2, you get minus 1. So we put here minus 1. Okay, so this is 28. And now 29. So 29, we have 36x squared plus x minus 2 equal to 0. So again, we have to divide by 36 to get rid of the coefficient. So you divide by 36. This one divide by 36 become 1 over 36. And minus 2 divided by 36 become minus 1 over 18. So we take the second coefficient, which is 1 over 36. 1 over 36, you divide by 2. And 1 over 36 times half. That is 1 over 72. And we check with calculator. 1 over 5184. So we had to add 1 over 5184 and minus 1 over 5184 in between, followed by the last term minus 1 over 18. So the first 3 terms we factorize. 1 over 72. So why 1 over 72? Because you take the 1 over 36, as in here, you divide by 2, and you get 1 over 72. So that's why it's this. And for the last 2 terms, we press calculator. Minus 1 over 5184 minus 1 over 18. So we get minus 289 over 5184 equal to 0. So that is completing the square. Now, question 30. Question 30, we have 20x squared minus 7x minus 3 equal to 0. So again, we need to divide by 20 to get rid of the coefficient. So we get x squared minus 7 over 20x minus 3 over 20 equal to 0. And we take the second coefficient, we divide by 2. Minus 7 over 20 divided by 2, which is minus 7 over 20 times half, which is minus 7 over 40. Then you square it, 49 over 1600. So we just add that at the third position. Then we minus, okay, for minus 49 over 1600 minus 3 over 20 equal to 0. So the first 3 terms we can factorize. X minus, again the easiest way to factorize is you take this and divide by 2. So as you can see the previous working on the right, divide by 2, you get minus 7 over 40. Minus 7 over 40 square. Okay, then the last 2 terms we check with calculator. Then we get minus 289 over 1600 equal to 0. And yeah, settle. 30 question.